to 106.9.org.
Good morning, Wright State University, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Start your day the right way with us. We're going to be providing you the current events of the day. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening at Wright State University. We're going to have some casual conversations, and we're going to have a feature depending on the day of the week. You don't want to miss it. Right here, right now. The Wright Morning Show, WWSU. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is Monday, May 17th, 2021. On the phone with me, I have Harmony. How are you doing this morning, Harmony?
I'm alive, I'm well, and I'm ready to roll.
Awesome.
How are you, Triple P?
I'm hanging in there. I'm falling a little behind on setup, so if you could stall there for me a little bit. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good, just, like I always do, usually working, so very, very busy. Seems to be a lot of people seeking answers to their burning questions of life. So it was definitely a weekend of busyness. Fairly decent food. I realized I need a new hand mixer because my beaters are bent to all heck and back.
Oh no, that's not
so
good.
Now it's time to make cake in the blender instead of with a hand mixer. So luckily we have a nice Ninja blender, which will do just about anything as long as you keep your fingers away from it. So it's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. It is raining currently, so those of you who are currently on the commute, be sure to be aware of that. And it's supposed to rain for the next several hours. Your weather forecast will be coming up at 10:30 on the Wright Morning Show. But first, let's get into your current events, shall we? Starting off with, let's see here. We don't want New York City. Wow.
Sure about that?
Let's change that here. I don't know why I was getting New York City news. That was so weird.
Well, you sure it wasn't a news clip about New York City instead of New York itself?
All right, here we go. One person is unfortunately dead after a shooting in Dayton. One person dead after being shot in Dayton last night. The shooting happened on the 100 block of Xenia Avenue near South Kiwi Street around 11 p.m., according to WDTN. Montgomery County Regional Dispatch told 2 News that when the crews arrived, they found the shooting victim lying in the middle of the street. Yeah, the victim was taken to Miami Valley Hospital with life-threatening injuries, but later died, according to the Montgomery County coroner. Dispatchers said an unknown vehicle left the area at a high rate of speed, but it is unknown if the car is connected to the incident. 2 News will be updating that story, so you can check 2 News to keep up to date. Dayton customers now have access to how much Forever chemicals are in their drinking water. This is from Dayton Daily News. Forever Chemicals. Interesting name.
Yeah, no doubt.
They have Dayton Daily News still has me on a paywall. I don't think they're ever going to lift me from that. So let's skip along. Most expensive homes for sale in Dayton. This is from WDTN.
Most expensive homes everywhere, I think, now.
I was going to say housing prices are going up mainly because of the lumber shortage.
Mm-hmm.
For WDTN, buying a home is an investment and an increasingly expensive one. The median value of a home in the United States reached $295,300 in June 2020, according to the National Association of Realtors. Home buyers have a lot to consider when house hunting or looking to invest in rental properties, from the state of the housing market itself to taxes and potential resale value. The housing market grew robust and pricey in the last decade following the 2008 recession, but the market could be slowed by rising interest rates. Such a downturn can be good news for potential home buyers, as you're more likely to be able to wager a deal on an otherwise overpriced house. Then there is the house itself to consider, including what kind of upkeep it requires and the associated costs. Depreciation affects homes of Depreciation affects all homes, sorry about that, at an average rate of 3.636% each year, which can be a help come tax season if you use your home for business or rentals. But it may cost you later in capital gains when you sell it. Meanwhile, land value tends to increase over time depending on several factors, including where the house is located and what amenities and homes are nearby. More desirable neighborhoods allow sellers to charge more. The mantra, location, 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 has never been more relevant. You can read more about this at WDTN.com. From WHIO, Dayton VA is expanding their telehealth services. The Dayton VA Medical Center is expanding their availability of telehealth services. Dayton VAMC said veterans enrolled in the VA healthcare system now have an increased number of telehealth opportunities. The medical center said in a statement that the expansion is to ensure all veterans, regardless of where they live, have convenient access to VA care. The statement also noted that telehealth services have continued to be extremely important during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dayton VAMC said they have conducted nearly 17,000 video telehealth visits since January 2021. That's quite a bit. Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
The medical center was able to expand their virtual services with the launch of Digital Divide Consult. According to U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the program connects veterans with social workers to help determine what services each veteran is eligible for. Yeah, and being able to provide, this is stepping outside of the article, being able to provide mental health and other services for VA veterans has been a very important feat here in the United States. There's been a lot of complaints among the public that veterans are not getting enough support. What do you say, Harmony?
Well, there's actually been a lot of complaints by the veterans themselves by not getting enough support.
Yeah.
Former ex-fiancé was military, retired, and I had several encounters, with his visits to the VA Medical Center. But for the most part, I feel like it's really crucial because, as we always say, this is my opinion, doesn't reflect, the station or its entities. But, I feel like they go in, they do a job, they're, working their butts off every single day to keep all of us safe. And, where's the benefits? Where's the glory for them when they get home? Even if they had a small part in doing something, it's still crucial for them to get good mental health care because, let's face it, we're not there. We don't see a lot of what goes on, and it can be pretty horrific.
Yeah.
That's total mental distress on a daily, anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome, etc. So I feel it's very, very important to take care of our own, especially if they're going to be out there putting themselves on the line every single day for the benefit of the United States. So very important, very.
And also, since we're talking about the veterans, we do want to, give a thanks to our veterans for their support and their service to the country.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you very, very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, moving on from, we're going to talk about four positive news stories that have happened in Montgomery County. We're going to talk about that during our daily reflection segment, so stay tuned for that. Dayton.com, the contemporary Dayton fulfills its dreams. Apparently, dreams can come true, even in the midst of a pandemic. See for yourself by heading downtown to the Miami Valley's newest attraction, the contemporary Dayton, a spectacular addition to the regional art scene. Located in a historic and newly renovated arcade, The Co., formerly the Dayton Visual Arts Center, opened its doors to the public on April 30th. More than 1,000 arts lovers have already shown up to celebrate. The space,
Wow.
yeah, that's a lot. The space itself feels like an artwork, said Arlene Brennick, a retired educator at the Dayton Art Institute's Experience Center. Designed by John Fabelo of LWC Architects, the new venue boasts 6,224 square feet of gallery space. The former DVAC space was just 3,444 square feet, with half required for storage. That's a lot of storage.
Wow, yeah.
It was only 4 years ago that DVAC folks, namely Executive Director Eva Buttacavoli and Gallery Manager Patrick Malk, if I could say names correctly today, began envisioning a facility that would take their 30-year-old, well-respected gallery on Jefferson Street to an entirely new level. They dreamed of a bigger and more accessible space, added galleries for more exhibits, a location with more foot traffic, and additional new donors. And they dreamed of continuing to nurture local artists, but reaching out to nationally and internationally known artists as well. You can read more about this at Dayton.com. That's a pretty cool story.
That's awesome.
They go a little bit more into the art gallery on the article if you want to check that out. But unfortunately, we are on a schedule, so we have to keep moving along. A man was stabbed in Dayton, according to WHIO-TV. Having a little bit of internet issues here. Give us one moment.
Wow, we got shootings, stabbings, and art. Wow, it's
They are not correlated, just
heck of a combination there.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously. Yeah, heck of a combo.
Well, this article is not loading for some reason, so we're going to move on. Dayton Daily News, again, they have a paywall on me, so if you want to read about the Dayton team who has trucks in Monster Truck Tour at County Fairgrounds, you can check that out at Dayton Daily News. Flour, Sugar, Cheez-Its celebrate the 100th birthday of the Dayton-born cracker with a special edition cake. This is from Dayton.com.
Oh, my.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. To celebrate the birthday of the Cheez-It cracker, they invented in the Gem City 100 years ago a limited edition Cheezentennial cake has been released for the occasion.
Oh, my goodness.
And it is a Cheez-It cake.
Oh, funny.
Stephanie Izard, a James Beard awarded winning Chicago chef and Cheez-It superfan, created the birthday cake. The Cheezentennial is made with an entire box of Cheez-It crackers.
Oh, my God.
Ground Cheez-Its make up the batter, and a Cheez-It and shortbread crumble is between the layers. The cake is balanced to salty sweet perfection with swirls of caramel throughout, hints of strawberry in the icing, and chocolate-covered Cheez-It crackers on top.
Oh, my kind of cake. Hats off to the chef.
Harmony, you're going to have to go get you a piece.
Oh, no doubt. That sounds delicious.
Actually, starting today, the cake is available nationwide on Goldbelly, an online food marketplace, and it's available until May 20th. So, Harmony, get on Goldbelly and get yourself a cake.
Yeah, get myself a fat belly with the cheese and cake.
And let us know how it tastes, too. I am very curious on how that tastes.
No doubt.
A limited supply will be released each day and available on a first-come, first-served basis. The cake serves 8 to 10 people. It costs a certain amount of money. I can't disclose the price because we are a nonprofit radio station, but you can find it at Dayton.com. The cracker, square in shape and orange in color, was invented by Dayton's Green and Green Company in 1921. Through the decades, the Green and Green Cheez-It brand changed hands numerous times until it was purchased by the Kellogg Company in 2001. Interesting. Food trucks from across the state meet for Fashion Meets Food Truck Rally in Trotwood. This is from WHIO. The city of Trotwood hosted the Fashion Meets Food Truck Rally yesterday afternoon. There were 40 food vendors, 12 food trucks, and a few informational vendors at the event. In addition to the food, COVID-19 vaccines were available to the public, according to a Facebook Live covering the event. It was held May 16th from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 5200 Salem Avenue. The event was the brainchild of Ty Winston, a local business owner who owns 3 businesses in Dayton. Her businesses teach local retail companies about what's needed, legal and otherwise, to become better business owners. It's pretty cool. And speaking of food trucks and all of that, just kind of stepping away from the current events here for a moment. Harmony, would you say that we need more food markets and food vendors here in the local area, like farmers markets and things like that?
I would say so. Actually, I had looked amazingly. There's actually a farmers market, I believe, somewhere down on 3rd Street.
Yeah.
It's open year-round. But, yeah, I feel like we need more stuff for fresh produce. I mean, that's the way it was back in the day. My great-grandfather, actually, was a fruit and vegetable vendor in downtown Dayton, and a very popular one at that. And he used to, go down there and sell his produce. And, I feel like, we kind of have to go back to basics. And I feel like this whole pandemic thing is sending us back in that direction, where we need to go get, fresh produce. We need to have more agriculture and, definitely get moving on that because, in a world that is completely abundant, I don't know how in the Hades we have shortages on everything right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's never been an issue with, shortages. We've always lived in an abundant world. But, yeah, we definitely need to bring back local farmings, more agriculture, farmers markets, etc. Because, hey, fresh is best, I could say.
Yeah. If you do want to get fresh produce, I know the Gem City Market opened last week in around Salem Avenue, so there's a good place to get some fresh produce as well.
And out here in Bellbrook, if anybody's located around Wilmington Pike by Walmart-ish, and somewhere in between, I believe, Lowe's and the medical building, there is a farmer's market that usually sets its stuff up right in between there every year about this time. So they usually have a lot of good stuff.
All right, continuing on here. Those who are fully vaccinated no longer must wear masks at the Air Force Museum, according to Dayton Daily News. Again, I'm under a paywall. So you could go to Dayton Daily News to read more about that.
Actually, unless you are immune compromised and or elderly. Sometimes it's basically your choice. And I also read this morning, I had an email come in just for those that are Costco people that shop Costco's. Their new protocol is basically they're not asking for proof of vaccination. They expect you to be responsible customers. But at the same time, if you are still elderly, even if you have been vaccinated, if you're elderly and or immune compromised, they ask, that you still be responsible for yourself and wear a mask in the store. But other than that, check your local stores for information. Each one will vary according to what's going on with the CDC.
Yeah. All right, from WYSO, West Dayton Stories, Seeing Black Joy in the Mirror. We're exploring black joy on West Dayton Stories. This week, community producer Lavea Stewart talks about seeing her black joy when looking in a mirror. My black joy, it's the way I adore my skin tone that shines bright in any light. It's so moisturized and rich and melanated. It's the joy of my thick 4C type hair. It's so soft, so nappy, so free. I celebrate my crown even when society said, relax your hair, because in its natural state, it's too strong for them to handle. My black joy is pure. It's living my blackness unapologetically, no matter the hour. It's the joy in dancing, laughing, and singing, even in the hardest times, especially in the world that would rather see you mourn just from existing. My black joy capturing the moments of our people, celebrating the good with the bad, the happiness with the sad. My black joy is finally recognizing the best superpower, the imagination. It allows me to create a place where there is no space or time to live out my wildest dreams. In this world where I hold a heavy brick of oppression on my back every day, but I still rise. My black joy is being myself, loving the woman that stares back at me, enjoying life and success. My black joy is finding every reason to rejoice, to be happy, to love, to create, and to be the best version of who I am. Me. That is my black joy. So if you want to listen to that, you could go to WYSO. It's kind of like a short podcast type story there. Dayton Daily News says that Dayton Public Schools are requiring students and staff to wear their masks through the end of the school year, despite the lifting of restrictions on CDC guidelines. So just an FYI there. And also, let's go on to global and national news now for time's sake here. So we're going to go now to Need to Know Cheddar News. From the New York Times, an update on the Gaza conflict. The Israeli military says it destroyed 9 miles of tunnels used by Hamas inside Gaza in the heaviest airstrikes seen since the latest conflict began a week ago. Yeah. Militants in Gaza continue to fire barrages of rockets into Israel over the weekend as the fighting showed no signs of dying down amid new efforts of diplomacy by the U.S. and UN. Early Saturday, Israel leveled a building in Gaza City that housed international media organizations, including the Associated Press.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah.
Israel said that building was also being used by Hamas. Occupants were given an hour to evacuate before the building was taken down. Of the nearly 200 Palestinians who have been killed in airstrikes in the last week, nearly half were women and children, according to the New York Times, citing Gaza officials. 10 people in Israel have been killed, including 2 children and a soldier, according to the Associated Press.
Chilling.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that shouldn't be happening, but is.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't really have much to say to that. The story speaks for itself. It's shocking, to say the least, that we're seeing this violence, especially amid a pandemic.
Violence never stops, unfortunately.
Yeah.
People need to be a little more mindful, a little more aware, and it's sad because there's so many different people and personalities in the world, but we all need to unite instead of fight.
All right, an update on COVID-19. This is from NBC. 6 months since the first COVID vaccine dose was given in the United States, about 60% of the adult population has received at least one shot. The CDC director faced questions about the confusion from the agency's surprising decision to lift its mask recommendation, saying over the weekend that vaccinated people are not at risk of severe disease and hospitalization and can therefore go maskless. If you are not vaccinated, you are not safe, she said. Trader Joe's and Walmart are the first big retailers to drop their mask policies in response to the CDC guidance. Let us know what you think. Leave us a message at wwsu1069.org. That's wwsu1069.org. Click the green play button and then click the chat with DJ tab in the menu. What are your thoughts on the CDC releasing their mask mandates, and also your thoughts on Walmart and Trader Joe's releasing their mask mandate as well? We would love to hear from you. So leave us a message.
You can hear from me.
Yeah, Harmony, what are your thoughts?
I'm still wearing my mask. I don't care. Even if full vaccination, whatever the case may be, I'd still be wearing it. For sure.
I mean, those of you who are listening to or who are watching us on YouTube, you can see I got my mask on in the studio, even though, I'm the only one in here, but you can never be too safe.
I would say, especially if you're immune compromised or have specific issues, even if you are vaccinated, like I said. But yeah, I would still be wearing my mask everywhere I go.
Yeah. Uh, oh my gosh. Let's talk about UFOs, shall we?
Yes, shall.
60 Minutes aired a story last night about UFOs in which a retired Navy pilot said he used to see unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP, almost daily for 2 years. Lieutenant Ryan Graves told the news magazine that he thought the UAP could be U.S. secret technology still in development, spycraft from another country, or something otherworldly. Another former pilot explained an encounter with a UAP in 2004 near California that appeared to operate outside the bounds of physics. The Pentagon had a June 1st deadline to deliver a report to Congress about what it knows of UAP. So we await that report. It's interesting.
Yeah, it should be coming out here pretty soon. I've heard something about something being released in June on UFOs. So, yep.
All right. From the Daily Beast, let's get into a little bit of celebrity drama, shall we?
Oh, let's shall.
Bill Gates has acknowledged that he had an extramarital affair with a Microsoft employee 2 decades ago, which led Microsoft's board to launch an investigation last year just before Gates resigned from that board. More reporting is coming out in the aftermath of Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce, including allegations that Gates had developed a reputation for questionable workplace behavior at both Microsoft and his foundation, and that he consulted convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein for advice on how to end his marriage. Ooh. Don't do that, guys.
Sounds like Mr. Gates needs to be more mindful of his hard drive. So.
Oh my gosh. What are we going to do with you, Harmony?
I don't know, but it fit in there, so I decided to slide it in the slot.
Put it in the USB port?
Yep, and see how it flies. Pretty much, yeah.
All right. You have it till the end of today to get your federal taxes postmarked and in the mail or filed electronically. Every state with an income tax except Iowa, Maryland, Oklahoma, and Hawaii also have their deadlines today. If you forgot to prep your taxes this year because of gestures broadly at everything, all you have to do is e-file the IRS Form 4868 and request an automatic extension until October 15th. So get those taxes in if you haven't done so already. AT&T is expected to announce as soon as today that it will spin off Warner Media and combine it with Discovery, according to Bloomberg.
Oh, Lord.
More conglomerate mergers.
No, murders.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
The new media company would be publicly traded and co-owned by AT&T and Discovery shareholders, according to reports. Discovery owns reality-heavy assets like HGTV, TLC, and Food Network. The spinoff would be unusual, given that AT&T paid $85 billion to acquire HBO, CNN, Warner Bros., Cartoon Network, TBS, and TNT, and put them under one roof less than 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. It's no wonder why my phone bill keeps getting more expensive.
Yeah. Because they got monopolies over the service areas, and when you have little to no competition, then no need to lower the prices, so they'll jack them up. All right, from ESPN, Medina Spirit couldn't quite pull it off, coming in third at the Preakness Stakes under the cloud of a positive drug test. Rombauer, a long shot, won the second leg of the Triple Crown at Pimlico in Baltimore. Rombauer went into the race at 11-1 odds, so a $2 bet on him paid out to $25.60. Nice. All right, box office status check. For the first time in seemingly ages, 2 new releases aimed at adult audiences opened wide at the box office. A big test of whether older audiences are ready to flock back to movie theaters as things reopen. The results were pretty dismal, unfortunately. Those those who wish me dead and Angelina Jolie starring action thriller Bond with just $2.8 million. Spiral, the Salt installment starring Chris Rock, did a little bit better with $8.7 million. About 2/3 of North American cinemas are now open. Oof.
I'll stay home. I'll stay home and watch the HBO.
Yeah. All right. That concludes your current events. Stay tuned with the weather forecast and an update as to what's going on around campus in just a couple of minutes. But for now, we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM, Dayton's right choice.
For those fortunate enough to help the
SU 106.9 FM. Welcome back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It's time for your weather forecast. The one that just aired is not correct. That was last week's. And we are going to now record this week's weather forecast. But the current weather is 58 degrees here at Wright State University, according to tomorrow.io, with some light rain falling. The rain is currently falling at a rate of 0.04 inches per hour. The wind is coming from the south-southeast at 8 miles per hour. The humidity is 84%. The visibility is good, and the air quality is good. Your hyper-local forecast, we got some light rain that is in the forecast now through approximately 2:45 p.m. And then at 2:45 p.m., the rain is going to get heavier, according to tomorrow.io. And then at 6 p.m., the rain is going to stop, and we are going to have cloudy skies. Temperatures, it is going to reach a high of 64 degrees at about 1 p.m. today. And then it's going to cool off a little bit into the high 50s/lower 60s for the remainder of the day. Here is your weekday forecast for Monday, May 17th through Friday, May 21st, brought to you by the National Weather Service. Today, Monday, showers, high around, let's try that again. Monday, showers, high in the mid-60s. Monday night, a slight chance of thunderstorms in the evening, transitioning to showers overnight, low in the mid-50s. Tuesday, a chance of showers, but otherwise mostly cloudy, high in the mid-70s, much warmer. Tuesday night, a slight chance of thunderstorms, otherwise mostly cloudy, low in the upper 50s. Wednesday, partly sunny in the morning, with a slight chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon, high around 80. Wednesday night, partly cloudy, low in the lower 60s. Mostly sunny, high in the upper 80s. Ooh, getting even warmer.
Yeah, we're getting ready to slam into summer like we always do.
Thursday night, partly cloudy, low in the lower 60s. And Friday, mostly sunny, high in the upper 80s. Finally, Friday night, partly cloudy, with a low in the lower 60s. All right, here's the latest happenings at Wright State University, brought to you by Wings. MBA Virtual Open House. Ready to take a big step forward in your career or to start a new one? Consider what a Wright State MBA might mean for your future, and then join us for the MBA Virtual Open House. That is today. And then there's also another one on June 15th. Summer 2021 graduates, the deadline to apply to graduate is Friday, May 21st. Be sure to carefully read all graduation and commencement application information. Many University is offering C-Campus grant funding for student parents. The grant would provide $700 off your child's monthly tuition. Other funding options are available to reduce the price even further. Parents must be Pell eligible and registered for 6 or more credit hours for summer semester. The Passport Center on campus is open. The UCIE has reopened as a Passport Center. They accept Wright State students, faculty, staff, family, and even community members. Do you think engineering isn't for you? This class will change your mind. Take ISE 1110, Introduction to Engineering Science Applications for All. It is a 4 credit hour class, 3 of them for lecture and 1 of them for a lab. Wright State Physicians is resuming the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine clinic for Wright State students. You must have an appointment you could schedule with the Wright State Physicians. Master of Humanities, a flexible, interdisciplinary, and unique course. Would you like to craft your own program of study in a variety of liberal arts disciplines? The M-Humanity program is currently accepting applications. Some tuition scholarship funding is still available. Would you like to become a disease detective? Take the Disease Detectives course in fall of 2021. That is PPH 2200. Register now. The class size is limited. There is an on-campus clinical research opportunity for dermatology, psoriasis, and or healthy controls are being asked to participate in the study. For more information, you can go to your Wings account by going to wings.wright.edu. There is also another study seeking male volunteers for another dermatology study. This one is compensated as well. You'll be compensated for it. Looking for healthy control males for the experiment, or the research, rather. not experiment.
The experiment, same thing. As long as we're not getting lobotomies, we're good.
Are you looking for a good summer read? If you are in need of a few books to add to your summer reading list, we welcome you to visit the University Library's news blog for ideas. The Master of Public Health virtual open houses, May 25th for research opportunities, and June 8th to 22nd for the epidemiology. All right, well, that is what is happening around campus and what is happening in the news. So let's take it over to freeform discussion. How's the progress with that Cheez-It cake, Harmony? Because I know during the break you were trying to order it.
Yeah, it basically said I'm supposed to hit the little button for notification when they get more in.
Oh, is it out of stock right now?
I don't know necessarily. I'm going to have to... I accidentally hit the wrong... thing. It took me to delish.com, which is pretty much all about recipes and news of cooking and things like that.
They can basically making your own.
Yeah, and I need to get to Goldbelly. It took me to Goldbelly, but it took me to a very limited portion of it when I know there's more to it. So I'll have to get back on there and see about grabbing some for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking through some... why is college so expensive? Here's a topic we can talk about.
Mhm.
Yeah, why is that? So I'm sure we've all noticed that college nowadays is a lot more expensive compared to college when our parents were in college.
Oh, Lord of mercy. Yeah, I
And
remember when my dad went, it was $5 a credit hour.
oh gosh, wow.
Yeah, and that was at Sinclair, and that was back in the 1960s.
Whew. Yeah, so college has been becoming almost exponentially
Exponentially.
more expensive as time goes on. And I think there's a lot of reasons to that. But I think the biggest reason is that funding for colleges is get by the state and by the federal government is getting less and less. And so colleges have to upkeep or jack up the tuition prices to compensate for the loss of funding that they're getting. That's part of the reason, I think.
Well, over in a lot of the other countries, college is free.
Hmm.
And they reason it and rationale it into the idea that they are grooming people to become a functional and crucial part of society, and they don't see the need for all of the. Now, I'm sure there is some sort of way around that. I'm sure that there's more to you know their method of that free college. And I'm sure there's certain things in place to make it that way.
Hmm.
But I feel like by the time you yourself and or anybody else that attends Wright State or University of Dayton or any college in the United States, I mean, you're leaving essentially with a debt that could buy you basically a new house and a car, and you're going to have
Mm.
this debt for quite some time. Granted, you get 6 months after, to start paying on that debt back, but still, nevertheless, I mean, you are basically walking out of there with a lot on your shoulders if you're not fortunate enough to, have the funds to get all that done.
Well, even the 6 month grace period that only applies to the federal loans, subsidized and unsubsidized.
Uh huh.
But keep in mind, even with the unsubsidized loan,
Those
uh,
start immediately. Yeah.
well, I was going to say, like, you're not expected to start paying for 6 months, but the interest starts accruing
Accused.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
sorry, I keep smacking the microphone. Uh, and like I said, so this grace period only applies, at least to our knowledge, as a standard to the subsidized loans. All the other loans, like the student loans and stuff that you get from your bank or your credit union,
Mhm.
etc., it's up to them to decide when you have to start paying back those loans, and they can
Mhm.
change it at will
At
at
any
any time.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, I just and the sad thing is too, I mean, you do learn some stuff, but I honestly feel like there's some things that are, you know, that are not brought into the picture that you really need, as far as experiential things like that. I mean, yeah, you've got intern programs and things of that nature, but there's a lot of instances and cases where your books can only do you so good, and then you need like practical hands-on experience, which would come through, you know definitely in your internships. But still, it just it's like the prescribed amount of courses. I feel like we've already had English out the yin yang. We've already had enough math, unless you're going to
Mm.
major in something like, maybe electronics or computers or engineering, something like that, even the sciences, nursing, doctor, etc. But I feel like we've all pretty much had the basics. I don't completely get, as I know it's a quote-unquote government standard, but I don't feel like you should have to come into a college setting and retake, mathematics and English and all these other, courses just to get to where you need to be. Let's just dig right into it. They're
Hmm.
making enough money anyway. Let's just dig right into it. Test the kids, find out where they fall in the categories like they do of entrance exams for math and English, and then just go from there in your designated major. Don't make them take, some entry level course for because it's something that's prescribed or required. I just don't understand the rationale or reasoning, behind some of that.
Yeah.
Except for more money.
You got a noisy bird over there at your
I
place.
I know. He's in the tree. He's getting
That's
rained
funny.
on, so he's tweety. Yeah. We had a bunny a couple nights ago. That was cute.
Nice. We got quite a few bunnies over in our area. I accidentally hit a bunny a few months ago on my bicycle.
Oh, Bun.
Yeah, didn't survive, unfortunately.
Oh, poor bunny.
Yeah. All right, here's another interesting topic. So when COVID is over with, or when we start coming out of the COVID pandemic, will you hug people to greet them again?
I already did. Still will.
Yeah, kind of
Doesn't
cheated a
matter.
couple of times.
Yeah, got to. Just got to.
Yeah, so let us know what you think. Those of you who are listening, leave us a comment in the Facebook stream or on our website at wwsu1069.org. Click the green play button and then click chat with DJ in the menu. What forms of affection are you going to show other people to greet them once the pandemic is over with? And how does that correlate to your stance on personal health and safety with regards to COVID? So we would like to hear
Bill
that.
Gates has already shown the way with his hard drive over there. So.
Oh, gosh.
And that was even before all this. But
Yeah, that was 2 decades ago, I believe it said, and they're just now investigating it.
Which is crazy. But, yeah, I don't know. Hugging, kiss on the cheek, whatever. I think it's good. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
The one thing that amazes me, Triple P, is the fact that, in the pandemic itself, it doesn't matter how deep in we've gotten, even during the height of the pandemic, a lot of phone dating services and just dating services in general, people still going out, meeting and hooking up and doing the dirty, during pandemics. It's like, oh my God, really? You guys aren't going to stop? Wow, that's kind of taking some chances there. But, each person's preference is somewhat personal, sure, but I just, couldn't have seen the whole idea behind that, putting yourself at risk in somebody else, and, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about cherries, shall we? This is kind of a weird transition, but hey, that's what we do on the Freeform discussion. Anything and everything can be a topic during this section of the show.
True.
Let's talk about some of the health benefits of cherries. This is from healthline.com. Cherries are a small stone fruit that comes in a variety of colors and flavors. There are 2 major categories, tart and sweet cherries, or prunus. I'm not going to even try and say those names.
Yeah.
We'll call them cherries.
Exactly.
Their colors can vary from yellow to deep blackish red.
Mm-hmm.
All varieties are highly nutritious and packed with fiber, vitamins, and minerals. 1 cup, or 154 grams of sweet raw pitted cherries, provides 97 calories, 2 grams of proteins, 25 grams of carbs, 3 grams of fiber, 18% of the daily value of vitamin C, 10% of the daily value of potassium, 5% of the daily value of copper, and 5% of the daily value of manganese. These nutrients, particularly fiber, vitamin C, and potassium, benefit health in many ways. Vitamin C is essential for maintaining your immune system and skin health, while potassium is needed for muscle contraction, nerve function, blood pressure regulation, and many other critical bodily processes. Cherries are also a good source of fiber, which helps keep your digestive system healthy by fueling beneficial gut bacteria and promoting bowel regularity.
Ooh.
Yeah. Plus, they provide B vitamins, manganese, copper, magnesium, and vitamin K.
Which is a clotting agent in your blood and helps things to clot up. I had also known that tart cherry juice is good for people that have gout.
Mm-hmm.
It helps reduce inflammation. It's anti-inflammatory. And there's also a little something out there called tart cherry powder.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use a teaspoon of that every day in an 8-ounce glass of water stirred up for immune support. So cherries are definitely, super tasty and super good. And here's your fun, stupid fact of the day. In every can of fruit cocktail, the USDA amount of cherries, and we know there ain't no cherries hardly in there ever.
You get 1 or 2 if you're lucky.
You get 2, and they're sliced in half. So you get about like 2 cherries and 4 and like 2 halves of the cherries in that can of fruit cocktail. The rest is pretty much occupied with peaches, pears, and whatever the heck else is in there. So, yeah.
Like, why is that? Because you could buy a fresh bag of cherries for not very much.
I don't know. Don't know exactly, but it's the USDA recommended amount. So we'll talk to the Food and Drug Administration about that one. So, yeah.
That's funny. All right. Yep. Cherries are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds.
See? Just said.
Yep. They can boost exercise recovery. Interesting. So this can help relieve exercise-induced muscle pain, damage, and inflammation. Tart cherries and their juice seem to be more effective, though both may aid athletes. So drink some tart
once
cherry
you get
juice.
back from the gym, have some tart cherry juice.
Yeah. The cherries may benefit heart health. Many studies show that diets rich in fruits are associated with a reduced risk of heart disease. Cherries are particularly beneficial in this regard, as they are rich in nutrients and compounds that are known to promote heart health, including potassium and polyphenol antioxidants. They may improve symptoms of arthritis and gout. We talked about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They may improve your sleep quality as well.
Interesting.
The sleep promoting benefits may be attributed to the fruit's high concentration of plant compounds. Additionally, cherries contain melatonin, a substance that helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. Nice. And finally, they are easy to add to your diet. Cherries are versatile and incredibly delicious. Both sweet and tart varieties pair well with many foods. Plus, related products such as dried cherries, cherry powder, and cherry juice make interesting additions to many recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can enjoy them fresh as a sweet snack. You could pair dried cherries with dark chocolate chips, unsweetened coconut flakes, and salted almonds for a delicious homemade trail mix.
Yum.
That sounds good.
Yum.
Make a cherry compote out of frozen tart or sweet cherries and spoon on yogurt, oatmeal, or chia pudding.
Hey, make a cherry cheesecake.
Yeah. Add halved pitted cherries to a fruit salad. Not just 2, mind you.
Yeah, no doubt. Put a bunch in there. Put a buttload in there.
Incorporate dried cherries into baked goods for a kick of natural sweetness. Add a bit of tart cherry juice to sparkling water and top with a lemon wedge for a fun mocktail. Add fresh or cooked cherries to ice cream, pies, crumbles, and other desserts. Make a homemade cherry barbecue sauce to use with meat or poultry dishes. That actually sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Whip up a cherry salsa with diced cherries and fresh herbs like basil to serve alongside savory meals. Or add frozen cherries to your favorite smoothie. You can read more at healthline.com. So that's pretty interesting.
Nice. Yeah, we made your chiffon pie that one time you were here with sliced cherries. Yeah, that was good.
I think it was, what was it, orange cherry? I forget.
Orange and cherry, and then we had sliced cherries on top of the cream.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. All right, let's talk about building self-confidence for the remainder 5 minutes. How do you build your self-confidence? What is self-confidence, first off? And then how do you build it? We'll talk with you, Harmony, on that.
Well, self-confidence lies within the solar plexus chakra, if you want to get spiritual. It's all about identifying with self-confidence, obviously, which is basically how you feel about yourself. Do
Mm-hmm.
you feel good about you? Can you look in the mirror every day and say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," while you're brushing your hair and your teeth? If you can't do that, then start doing it. And if you don't believe it, you eventually will. Fake it till you make it, folks. But self-confidence gives us, a variety of things, such as, being social with others, being self-compassionate towards oneself and others. And I feel like, it's just knowing that you are a good person, that your heart's in the right space, and that you're making your way through the world, knowing that you are radiant, you are intelligent. Start doing some affirmations while you're
Mm-hmm.
at it for self-confidence. But, self-confidence is something that we all need, because if we don't have it, then we tend to not be very social creatures, and we tend to isolate and, just kind of decline. But it's a very important aspect of who we are as people.
I noticed like self confidence seems to be a struggle for a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah, and I feel like it's because we got a lot of craziness in the world, and, parents, if any parents are out there, you have a child and you're listening, I'd start them early, let them know that, they love themselves first. Who loves you? Me, I love me. It should be a case of where you love yourself, you care for yourself, there's good self-care, that you're smart, that you're, in sync with things. And I feel like it's very important to tend to those needs early on in child development, because it's very, very crucial for raising very confident, young women and young men out there, depending. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for the most part, if you don't start then it's really hard. And sometimes, it can happen that we're very confident people, and we can actually fall out of sync and lose that self-confidence during, because of certain situations that have happened in our lives and things that have kind of taken us down, where we don't feel so confident or radiant. But,
Yeah.
we got to try to hang on to that, because, just because somebody else is saying something directed towards you doesn't mean it's about you. It could be something about them, and they're projecting their crap into your yard, and you just need to get rid of it. But definitely, that's my take on it for the most part.
Mm. Yeah. So, and self confidence can also be, and we talked about this a few episodes ago about not taking things too personally. That was part of one of our daily reflections.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
a lot of times when we take things too personally, that can also hinder our self confidence quite a bit, because we are depending our self confidence on what others are saying about us instead of what we should be saying, what we are saying about ourselves.
exactly. It's like we let the other person hold that power and take our power away, when they say certain things. And it's pretty much, oh God, what was I going to say? It's to the effect of, we care too much about what other people think and feel about us, and it's more important of what you think and feel about yourself more than anybody else. And that's where, like, fitting in and belonging are two different things.
Hmm.
Because if you're going to fit in, that's kind of like, going with the crowd, peers, fads, trends, etc., phases, things like that. Belonging is where you feel good about the people and situations that you're around, that you're your authentic self. You don't have to look or dress or be a certain way to fit in. You're just you, and people accept you as you are. And that's pretty much where we're at worldwide. We all need to accept each other as is, and understand that there's a bigger dynamic behind each person in the world and why they are the way that they are. And, that's okay, you know.
Yeah. All right,
But,
we're gonna go ahead. Oh, sorry, you were gonna
oh,
add something.
one final thing. I think the biggest thing here is people want to check somebody really cool out. Brene Brown. She does a podcast. She's in Texas, and she is a very interesting lady on writing research. She researches like shame and issues of that nature. And yeah, she's really incredible. And I would suggest anybody that has any like confidence issues, anything like that, check her out. She's got a podcast called Unlocking Us and several books to her accreditation, and she's just a very amazing person. We just read The Gifts of Imperfection in a class that I took a couple months ago already, and it is pretty much something that will open up your mind and your eyes. So I highly suggest checking into her. It's Brene Brown.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be flip-flopping the segments for the second hour. So we're going to be doing Major League Mondays first when we come back from break, and then we're going to be doing our daily reflection at 11:30. And the reason being is Shay Neal is going to be on for Major League Mondays, and he has a class at 11:40. So we got to get him on before his class.
No doubt.
You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times. Number 1, make sure your kids
And we're back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Welcome back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. In the studio, I have with me Shay Neal. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, Patrick. I appreciate your patience. I know my schedule's been a little wacky the last couple of days, and I haven't been able to be on the morning show as much as I wanted to be, but I'm excited to be here, and I'm a big sports junkie, so you never have to ask me to talk about sports. So.
Yeah, because I don't know much about sports, but I know we wanted that to be a part of the morning show on Monday. So I'll give it to you. What's the latest happenings in the sports world?
Well, I think the biggest thing that really happened over the last couple of days, this kind of ties into local news as well. But the Cincinnati Reds announced, I don't know if you had already talked about this or not, but the Cincinnati Reds announced that starting on June 2nd, which is when Governor DeWine's lifting the mandatory mask restriction, they will be doing full attendance at Great American Ballpark, which is their home stadium. So the Reds become the third team in the country to go back to full attendance behind the Texas Rangers and the Atlanta Braves. So that's really been the big news around Cincinnati, is that Great American Ballpark's finally going to be back to full capacity in just a couple weeks.
And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other teams, not just with baseball, but with football coming up once we get into the fall season, that are going to go back to full attendance as well.
And something that Parker, our sports director, and I are both very excited about is fans back at Wright State sporting events this season as well.
Yes, very much
the
so.
fans make the experience, let's be real. The players, the athletes are very good at what they do. The coaches are very talented as well, but it's not the same going to a Wright State basketball game unless there's fans there.
Yeah, and especially all season last year was pretty much fanless, and
100%.
that was a really strange experience, I must say.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt about it. It was really weird. I remember there was one game where Parker and I were doing, and I had a water bottle, and right after the game was over, they had a giant tarp over one of the sections, and I dropped my water bottle. I didn't mean to, and it rolled all the way down that tarp, and I wish there was a video, but it's just me looking up there all depressed because I realized I had to go down like 30 rows to get it. And then I finally go down and get it. I'm like, well, if there were fans here, somebody would have gotten it for me. But yeah,
that's funny.
It was great. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I remember, my two favorite matches of the volleyball team to call the last year was the 5-set game, the 5-set match against UD, and then the 5-set match in the championship against UIC. And they were insane without fans. But if you add fans, it brings it to a whole new level. And I'm really excited to get fans back into McLean, back into the Rinsler Sports Complex, back into Nischwitz, and back into the Netter Center starting in the fall.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm very looking forward to the upcoming sports season, especially with the hopeful return of our audience. It'll be good to hear. Like, it was good hearing all of the action on this on the floor of the Nutter Center during the broadcast.
Yeah,
that was a pretty cool experience to hear all of the communication going on down there.
Right.
But it's also really nice to hear all of the cheering and everything from the fan stage.
No doubt about it. And Parker and I talked about this last week. The fan energy and the fan emotion makes the experience. Where you remember the moments of like the big home runs and the big shots to win the game and the big game-winning goal in a soccer game or something like that. But you don't really remember the play. You just remember how crazy the crowd went when that moment happened.
Yeah.
My favorite moment as a Reds fan is when Jay Bruce hit a walk-off home run to win the division in 2010 and send the Reds to the playoffs. I don't really remember where the pitch was. I don't remember who threw the pitch. I barely remember where it went in the stadium. I just remember 40,000 people screaming and throwing their beer everywhere. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
So I think the fan experience, obviously, and we've learned that throughout the pandemic, the fans bring sports to an entirely new level. Sports are great regardless, but the fans make sports what they are.
That's what gives it the electricity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, Shay, would you say that the fans have an impact on the outcome of the game?
100%. I 100% think they do. You've heard the common term home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very true. I think that
Wright State has a very big home field advantage.
Exactly. Wright State always does better at home than they do away from home. And I think that's, it's a pretty simple correspondence where when you have the fans booing the crap out of the team you're playing and cheering every little thing that you do, where the Netter Center crowd goes crazy when Wright State makes a free throw, but God forbid Tyler Sharp miss one layup and they'll boo him for the rest of the night. I think home field advantage, home court advantage, whatever you want to call it, plays an enormous advantage. And I think it's very common across all sports to see teams do better at home than they do away from home, for sure.
Yeah.
Another big story, Parker and I are actually talking about this to open up our show here at 1 o'clock today, but I thought you might find this, I don't know if you'll find this amusing or if you'll find it kind of sad. I kind of found it funny when I read it, and then I thought more about it, and I found it sad. But there's this undrafted football player out of Austin P. His name was Juantarius Bryant. Juantarius Bryant, I'm sorry. And he got a text from an Atlanta area code number to come to Atlanta for a tryout with the Falcons. The number claimed that he was the Falcons' defensive coordinator, Dean Pease. He showed up to Atlanta on Wednesday, and the Falcons had no idea who he was, didn't let him in the door, and he found out it was a prank number. He got catfished.
Oh, my God.
I thought it was funny when I read it at first, but then I thought, you know what? These undrafted free agents wait next to their phone for weeks after the draft, just waiting for that phone call of like just that one tryout that they get a chance to get into the NFL or into the NBA or whatever. That whoever was behind that is a pretty heartless individual. But hopefully, I mean, his story's all out on social media now. He actually posted on Twitter last night. He handled it very, very well. He said that he apologized to the Falcons organization for the confusion. But he said that he's staying ready, he's staying in shape, and when the opportunity comes, he will be ready. So he handled it very, very well. And I think that all of the positive support that's coming from this, I hope it will get him a tryout with another team. Maybe not the Falcons, but I do think he finds his way onto an NFL roster.
Do you think maybe one of the other teams will take note of what happened?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams already had interest in him. Because of the talent he displayed in college. But unfortunately, the pandemic also played a role in this, because in previous years, if he wasted all the trouble to go all the way out to Atlanta, the Falcons probably would have just given him a tryout. Mm-hmm. But now with the rules of the coronavirus, they can only do 5 tryouts with undrafted free agents every offseason. And they already had their 5 players picked, so they couldn't let him in. It was against protocol.
Yeah.
But I think the way he handled the situation, just the professionalism and the maturity that he showed, alongside the heart and the determination that he showed, and he's ready for this opportunity, along with the talent he showed in college, I think there's a lot of teams that took note of this and now think of him as maybe one of the better players that they could get in this offseason.
So how do draft players know when they get an authentic request to go to a tryout? How do they know it's not a prank?
Usually it comes through their agent. Their agent usually gets contacted and kind of filters through the fake ones and filters through what's actually authentic and what's legit and stuff like that. It also works not just with tryouts, but with brand deals, sponsorships, stuff like that. But I mean, it's a difficult situation for sure, because a lot of these guys, they weren't drafted, so they don't have the phone numbers of a lot of these coaches. So he saw 404, looked up what area code is that, saw it was Atlanta, and the guy claimed he was a coach from the Falcons. And I mean, I'm sure he lost all sense of rationality and logic, and he's just like, oh my God, a coach from the Falcons is talking to me. This could be my chance. Like,
yeah.
So, like I said, the person who did this is an absolutely horrible human being, and that's brutal. Like, I've done some mean stuff in my day, I'm not going to lie, but I've never once thought about just crapping on somebody's dream like that. That's brutal.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I think he handled it extremely well. I mean, if it was me in that situation, I think he had every right to be pissed. He had every right to be frustrated. I'm sorry.
Can't say that word.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Can't
My
say
bad.
that word.
He had every right
radio.
to be. He had every right to be frustrated. He had every right to be upset. But I think he handled it very well, and he looked like a very classy and mature individual on the other side of it. My bad. That's the first.
Okay.
That's the first time in like 2 years I've said something on air that's required the dump button. I thought I had finally gotten over the hump.
Over the dump.
Yeah, right? Over the dump. There you go.
Over the dump. Well,
That should be the name of the podcast.
When you're passionate about something, it just kind of flies
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And I have
that's
that.
true.
I have that problem at my other job too. I mean, sometimes you just get so worked up into a topic that it just kind of comes out without you thinking about it. So I'm glad that Patrick had the quick hands there, and
He
was able
always
to get it
does,
off.
thank goodness, because I know I got to.
Because I'm on the other side of the studio. I don't think I would have been able to bolt over there in time.
Yeah. Just quick before we get into your next story, I wanted to ask you if you knew anything about the of the Kentucky Derby and the issue with.
Medina Spirit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know. I know Medina Spirit raced this weekend, actually. I don't know how the horse did, but I do know that
it said third place or something like that. Yeah.
I don't think they're punishing the horse at all, other than maybe taking the Kentucky Derby title away.
Aw.
I do think I do know that Bob Baffert, the trainer, who is considered maybe the greatest trainer in the history of horse racing, he's won I think 7 or 8 Kentucky Derbies. His horses have. He has been indefinitely suspended from the track at the Kentucky Derby, and something that's bugged me about this situation is he went on the Dan Patrick show last week and he claimed that he didn't know about it. And then he goes on Dan Patrick and says that he knew about it. He just didn't know it was a banned substance. So he's kind of contradicting himself. And I'm like, what I respect about people in this situation is he's just digging a bigger hole for himself. When you find yourself mixed up in something that you don't want to be mixed up in, especially in media, you just be quiet and you let it blow over. You do not make it worse than it needs to be. And I think that's something that Bob Baffert's done. He's made it worse than it needs to be. And that's something that I sit at home and watch his interviews and his press releases and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, you are digging your grave, man.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I believe I actually deleted the article, but the winner of the Preakness, or the most recent one this past Saturday.
I think it was the Preakness. I think the Belmont Stakes is at the beginning of June or something like that. Yeah.
He had odds of 11-1, so
a
pretty
little
good
bit of
payout.
an underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am trying to tell myself every day to not start betting on sports, because once I start, I'd never stop, and I am not good enough to actually make a profit off of it. So I have not bet on a horse race. I have not bet on a baseball game or anything like that. I think there's a lot of fun in it. I think I'd enjoy it, but I'm also a college kid that barely has enough money as it is. So I will not be betting on sports anytime soon. But I do think it's always cool to see those underdog horses and those especially like in boxing, when Mike Tyson lost his first fight to Buster Douglas, who had like 500 to 1 odds to beat Mike Tyson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was. I mean, it's always fun to watch the player, the athlete that nobody really gave a shot come out on top.
Yeah. I did pull up the article. It was Ron Bauer who won the Preakness.
Ron Bauer?
Yeah.
Okay.
11-1 odds, and Medina Spirit did come in third at the Preakness.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I think Medina Spirit's still a very solid horse. I think that obviously that shows. Coming third in the Preakness is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's unfortunate that a talented horse got caught up in kind of a scandal like this, and that what could have very well, if this situation didn't occur, I think Medina Spirit was talented enough that even if the horse didn't get those anti-inflammatories, it might have won the Kentucky Derby anyway. So it's unfortunate that its reputation as a racehorse is going to be tampered by something that wasn't even its fault.
Yeah. All right. So what else is going on in the sports world?
Yeah.
There, Shay?
Well, the NBA regular season just ended yesterday, and it's very interesting. They have what's called a play-in tournament now.
Mm-hmm.
It's brand new. So they have 2 games between the 7 seed and the 8 seed, and then the 9 seed and the 10 seed to find out who's going to play the top 2 teams in the playoffs. So the 7 and the 8 seed play each other. The winner of that game plays the 2 seed, and then the loser of that game plays the winner of the 9-10 game, and then that team plays the 1, if that makes sense. And I'm excited because the 7-8 game in the Western Conference is the Lakers and the Warriors. So that means one of the best matchups we've seen in a while in the playoffs. It's LeBron James versus Stephen Curry. So
oh, wow. 2
of the best players on the planet are playing each other for a chance to make it further in the playoffs. So I'm excited for that. I think it's Wednesday night. If not Wednesday, it's Thursday, but I'm already excited for that game. And I think a lot of NBA fans are pretty lucky that it worked out where LeBron James and Steph Curry are playing each other in the first round. So it's pretty crazy. But the basketball season just wrapped up. I know hockey's in the playoffs as well right now. NFL mini camp started this week, which is like their first practices. It's not very serious. practices. They don't wear pads. They don't hit each other. It's just kind of get to know each other, icebreakers, and then a few simple drills, conditioning drills, stuff like that. But it is technically the start of the NFL season, so it is exciting for a lot of football fans. And then exciting for Wright State sports. I mean, the baseball team continues to win.
Yeah.
They started the year 0-5, and since then they are 29-6.
That is quite the improvement. Wow.
There's a stat called RPI, which is the Ratings Power Index. It's basically how they rank every team in college baseball from 1 to how many ever teams there are. I think there's like 230 or something like that. Based on strength of schedule, based on quality of wins, based on all that kind of stuff. Wright State is number 12 in the country right now.
That's impressive.
In RPI. They are very, very talented. They have very good pitching. Austin Klein, Bradley Bremer, Jake Strand. A very strong bullpen that hasn't had to pitch a lot this year because they win a lot of games by a lot of runs. And then their offense is ridiculous. Alex Alders, Damon Dews, Connor Piotto, Alex Sire, Zane Harris, Quincy Hamilton, Tyler Black. I mean, I could just keep going. It's probably the best team, the best baseball team since I've been on campus. And then when they get to the tournament, it's 64 teams, and then the top 32 get out into something called super regionals. I think this could be the year Wright State gets to super regionals. I really do. I think they have the talent to get there, and that's very exciting as a Wright State fan because usually super regionals is just a bunch of ranked teams from the South.
Are you so the baseball season is still going on right now, correct?
The regular season is over. The Horizon League tournament starts. Actually, Wright State gets to host it because they are the 1 seed. That starts on May 27th at Nishwitz Stadium. We don't know who they're playing yet, but it will be here.
Awesome.
So they just got to win a couple more games in the Horizon League tournament, and they are well on their way to the NCAA tournament. But like I said, it's been the best baseball team I've seen in my time here. So it's a very, very talented team. And if they want to win, they got to do it now because 3 or 4 of those guys are going to get drafted into the minor leagues here in about a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Who are they drafted by, out of curiosity?
Oh, we don't know yet. The draft comes up on June
true.
10th.
I forgot how drafts work.
It's good. As soon as the season ends, though, I mean, Tyler Black has been one of the top recruits that Wright State's ever had. Second baseman out of Toronto. He got, unfortunately, hurt a little bit this season, so he hasn't played a full season, but he was a preseason Golden Spikes Award watch list, which is the best player in college baseball. He's very, very talented. He will probably go in the 2nd or 3rd round, if I had to guess, of the draft. The draft is 40 rounds, so there's a lot of 2nd or 3rd round, you're a really dang good baseball player. Quincy Hamilton, he's actually from Centerville, Ohio, pretty close by. He's always been very fast, very athletic, very strong defender, but this year he's hitting .360, which is ridiculous, with a team-leading 9 home runs. So he's really built his stock up. I think he could go in the 4th, 5th round, somewhere around there. And then Austin Klein, Jake Strand, Bradley Bremer, Alex Alders, Damon Dews. They have a lot of really talented guys that could go in the middle round. So I'm really excited. Coach Nate Metzger, or Coach Alex Sogard, and then the associate head coach Nate Metzger have done an outstanding job with this program. I was worried when Jeff Mercer left for the Indiana job that they'd take a step back, but they've only taken a step forward. So props to Coach Sogard, props to Coach Metzger. This team's really good, and they deserve the hype.
Awesome. How's our basketball team looking this upcoming basketball and volleyball? How are they looking for this upcoming
The volleyball
season?
team's going to be stacked. The volleyball team only lost 1 player, Mallory Ladd. Mallory had a very solid year, but they're getting Teddy Sauer back. They're getting Celia Powers back. They're getting Megan Alders. They're getting, and I know I mentioned Alex Alders with the baseball team. The Alders family is quite a bit of athletes here at Wright State. But they're getting Nisa Baker back. They're getting Lainey Stevenson, Jenna Story, Sam Wolf, Sam Ott. I mean, this team's really, really good. They're going to be the defending champs, and unless a catastrophic meltdown happens, I think that they're going to be at the top of the league again, especially with Allie Matters coming back for her 4th season, who I personally think is the best coach in the conference, and really it's not even that close. Basketball, that's interesting. The women's team has a lot of questions to answer. New head coach. We don't know who it is yet. New head coach. They lost Angel Baker. They lost Tyler Frierson. They lost Imani Jefferson. So it's going to be a very new team. We don't know if they're going to have growing pains. We don't know if they're going to pick up where they left off. We really don't know. So I'm excited to it's kind of like a suspenseful. For the first time in a couple of years, we have suspense with the basketball teams because
I was
we
gonna
don't
say,
we don't really know.
because Angel Baker was pretty much the spotlight of the
And Angel Baker,
women's basketball
I will
team.
be watching a lot of Ole Miss women's basketball next year because Angel Baker, I think, is about to tear up the SEC, and I'm very happy for her and very excited for her future. Hopefully, she gets to the WNBA. I think she has the skill set for it.
Mhm.
And then the men's team, we don't know about Loudon Love yet. We don't. We get Grant Basile back. We get Tanner Holden back. Trey Calvin, Tim Finke. It's still a very solid team. They got Riley Voss, a transfer from Cornell, who went to Cincinnati Moeller down in the Cincinnati area. He will be a nice piece. If they get Loudon back, I think they're the best team in the league. If they don't get Loudon back, I still think they're good. But Milwaukee, I told you last week, Milwaukee got the number 4 high school player in the country.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's going to be a very tough team to beat this year because they have an NBA player on their team. So if Loudon comes back, I think they're right up there with Milwaukee and with Cleveland State as the best team in the league. If Loudon doesn't come back, I think they're probably 3rd or 4th, but they're not far behind. So I think the men's team will be in good shape as long as Scott Nagy's there, which he is. The women's team, I can't really – it's more questions than answers right now. I couldn't give you a prediction because I really don't know.
Yeah. So definitely a couple of teams there to watch out for this upcoming season.
No doubt about it.
Definitely the women's volleyball team are sounding like they're in very good shape this upcoming season. And potentially the basketball teams as well. But as you said, we don't quite know yet.
Yeah, a lot more questions than answers for sure. And I know, just here to brag about our WWSU team here really quick. Our new sports director, Parker Testa, he's going to do an outstanding job as the voice of Raider sports this season. He has a really talented broadcast team coming in. I'm very excited for him. I've gotten to meet some of the people that's going to be on the broadcast team. They're very, very talented and passionate individuals. And like you said, the volleyball team is going to be great. The men's basketball team we think is going to be great. The women's basketball team could very well be great. We just don't know yet. The baseball team is spectacular. The soccer team should be taking a step forward next year because they're keeping a very similar roster.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a really fun year of Raider sports, and I am very, very happy for the coverage we're about to offer here at WWSU. So
are we going to try
make sure you stay tuned all summer or all fall, all school year long for Wright State Raider sports.
Yes.
We try to do every home game that we can. I forgot to mention, we're also doing club football again this fall.
Nice.
So we'll be doing club football home games. We'll be doing all basketball home games, all volleyball home matches, and we'll try to do as many soccer and baseball games as we can as well. So make sure you stay tuned all school year long on WWSU 106.9, and tell Parker that Shay sent you because I could use the publicity. So
get that free
right.
What is it called? The loyalty credit or whatever when you refer someone. Referral credit. That's what it is.
Yeah, just trying to build up my station credits. There you go. You got me.
All right. Any last things you want to say before we go to break for our next segment?
I don't think so. I appreciate you having me on. I mean, it's been a pretty fun week of sports, and I'm just excited for the week ahead because, like I said, basketball playoffs, the baseball team's about to go into the Horizon League tournament, and the Cincinnati Reds are going back to full attendance. So my sports world is looking up, so I'm excited.
Yes. And
I'll also mention, humble brag, I'm sorry. I'll also mention the Dayton Dragons. I work for the Dayton Dragons now. Mm-hmm. They are sitting at 8-4 and atop they're winning the league right now. So I'm very happy for them. So they make it fun to go to work at night because they win a lot.
Yeah.
So hopefully they keep that up as well. But
a
lot of really good sports in Ohio right now.
We should do some watch parties here at the station.
Absolutely.
Since we got TVs and everything.
Absolutely. Why not? Let's do it. Especially, I mean, now since we're going to be, I don't want to say back to normal, but we're going to be closer to normal this year than we were last year. I'd love to do watch parties for basketball games or for watch parties for volleyball matches or something like that because these athletes, they deserve the hype. And our station does a lot of really good coverage, and I think we can offer the students and members of this campus community just a really good resource for them to keep up to date on Wright State sports.
Awesome. Be sure to tune in to Testa and Neil Keep It Real today at 1 to 3 p.m. And every weekday for that matter, 1 to 3 p.m. on WWSU Radio if you want to hear more sports, more things happening in the sports world.
Yep.
So definitely check them out.
Yeah, Parker's back in Indiana, so it's a little weird right now where it's a little different than it was last week, but we are still going to be live on the station from 1 to 3, and we're also still going to be on YouTube as well. The YouTube video is technically was recorded in advance, but we are dropping the video at 1, so you can follow along with us just like it was live. So it's still a 2-hour video, just like if we were streaming live. And if you start it right at 1 when it drops, you can follow along with us. So make sure you tune in 1 to 3, like Patrick said. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Shay, for being on, and
Absolutely.
good luck in your class this morning.
I appreciate it.
We're going to take a break on the Wright Morning Show, and when we come back, our daily reflection. We also have some positive news stories that are happening around the Miami Valley as well for the last 30 minutes of the show. Stick around. You're listening to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Welcome back to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is time for the daily reflection. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The daily reflection today comes from tinybuddha.com. Today we are going to be talking about if you want closure after a breakup, 6 things you need to know. And this is written by Marissa Walter. A quote from David Dida. We eventually learn that emotional closure is our own action. So once again, we eventually learn that emotional closure is our own action.
Take note.
Yes. So starting the article, when my last relationship ended, bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
I didn't really understand why. After 8 years together and still feeling love for each other, my partner walked away saying he didn't feel able to commit. He didn't want to work on the relationship because he felt that nothing would change for him. So I had no choice but to let it end and do everything I could to pick myself up from the deep grief and testified by great confusion. Now, over a year later, I still cannot give you a definitive reason as to why we broke up. I do still think about the breakup, and occasionally it can bring up emotion even now. But these days, instead of that burning need to understand and make sense of it, I have a more distanced curiosity when I think about the reasons we ended. I think this might be that elusive state we call closure. This reflection led me to explore what closure means, why we strive for it, and why it feels so hopeless when we think we can't reach it. Do we ever truly have it? And where does it come from? What is closure? When we say we want closure at the end of a relationship, what do we actually want? Pardon me a second. My headset is caught in my sandal. Wow, that was
nice.
That was fun.
I think you need closure with that.
I have discovered that when people talk to me about needing closure, what they generally tend to mean is that they want answers and understanding about why things ended the way they did. Heartbroken people often believe that they will get the closure they so desperately desire if they only could make sense of why. They expect that this knowledge will help them stop the overthinking and relieve them of their painful emotions. I used to believe this too, but experience from my previous crushing divorce taught me it doesn't work like that. Closure must come from within, because if you look to your ex or anywhere else to find it, you will be left frustrated and helpless, and you will prolong your healing process. So let's take a look at some truths about closure that explain why it has to be an inside job. Well, before we do that, I'm going to turn to Harmony here and ask, what is your personal definition of closure?
Oh, well, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, inside job, I like it, leaving it on that, because that's my moniker. The power begins within. It's an inside job. For the most part, closure is the finality of a partnership or whatever the case may be. But the big thing about it is what people don't realize, and you've already stated it in this article to a degree, is the fact that we don't always get closure. People get hell-bent. Believe me, I work with people every day, and about 90 to 95% of my calls are relationship-geared.
Yeah.
So for the most part, a lot of them say, if I could just get the closure, then I'd be okay. Well, I can guarantee you, even if you got your closure, you wouldn't necessarily be okay, because it'd be something that you didn't want to hear. And it'd be you pointing the finger at yourself going, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not manly enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not whatever. So then that spires and spawns off on a whole different set of craziness.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you know, I'm going to bring up two things first and foremost. There's something called emotional attachment and genuine emotional attachment. Now, what that means is the emotional attachment is the unhealthy attachment, where we find ourselves getting lost into the person that we're with. We no longer have our own identity. We have mixed ourselves and lost ourselves into that person. We live, eat, breathe, and, you know, the other bodily function with them. And for the most part, you know, we are just so enamored with them. We have made them such a part of our world that when they leave, we are completely crushed. Our heart is like splintered and fractured into millions of pieces. We're depressed. We can't get up. We won't eat, sleep. We're crying, whining, complaining, angry. It is like a death, you know, to a lot of people. End of relationship is a grief. It's like a death. And you will go through the grieving process. But moving on to the genuine emotional attachment is the healthier attachment. It's not necessarily an attachment per se, but more or less you maintain and retain your individuality in the relationship. You don't come over with this attitude or mindset of that you complete each other. You complement each other. What one has in strengths and weaknesses, the other one might not, and you both play back and forth upon what you have and don't have, and you become a team. But for the most part, it means that you can still love someone with all of your heart, still maintain your individual self, and not get so caught up and entangled in that, you know, relationship that's going to drag you down. It means that you're in neutral ground. Yes, I love this person with all my heart and soul, but, you know, I want them to be happy if they decide to depart, and I'm still going happy. Sure, it's going to be sad. It's going to be something that you may not want, but at least you can maintain some semblance of emotional rational. So for the most part, that, you know, we got to set that into the category. But a lot of people believe that they have to have the closure. That if they don't ever have the closure, they'll be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a long, hard road, and I've had one client to the point of where, you know, she's so angry still, you know, but the thing about her is she's a little off-center. She's somewhat of a stalker. So that doesn't make the situation any better. She's definitely the emotional, attached, entangled, vibrational entanglement person. But, for the most part, I would highly suggest that when you're working through your closure, you sit down, you have your cry, and then once you feel a little more adjusted, get out your notebook, get out a pen, start writing some things down about how you feel. Write the person a letter stating everything that you feel and how you felt and, your take on them and, write down not what they did tell you during that time of breakup, but maybe what you expected them to say breaking up with you instead of it being angry maybe, that it was a little bit better received. And sit there and keep reading that letter over and over until you're satisfied with it. Mm-hmm. The next thing you want to do is burn it.
Yes.
And let it go up into the ether. And that's your closure. Because closure starts, as with anything in this world, is within you and you alone. Anything that we go through in life, we're basically, having an inside job. It has nothing to do with anyone else or where they're at the time, because they're their separate entity. It has everything to do with where your emotions are flowing to. So that's pretty much where I'm at with the whole closure situation so far.
All right, let's go back to Tiny Buddha. So some truths about closure that explain why it has to be an inside job. Number one, your ex's responses will just lead to more questions.
Mm-hmm.
At the point of my breakup, my ex and I had a couple of conversations that involved me doing a lot of asking why, but not getting many answers. He couldn't really explain. He told me, it's not you, it's me. And when someone gives you that as their reason, there is nowhere you can go with it. For the person leaving, it probably feels like the best way to end it. But for the person left, it's deeply unsatisfying. And our natural tendency is to desperately ask more questions. What's wrong? Can I help you with whatever you're going through? Can we fix it somehow? Can we at least work on it? It's important to know that when we are still in love with someone, nothing they can say will give us closure. The answers will never feel enough. They will only lead to more questions and more longing. This is kind of why one of my policies when it comes to breaking up, if somebody breaks up with me, I don't ask why, I just let it happen.
That's where being neutral comes in handy, because you know that at that time, and with the person that you are, that I've always known you to be, you know in your heart that at that point,
that's the moment that it's done, yeah.
It's done, and it's meant to be that way. You were meant to meet that person for very specific reasons. We all meet everybody in life every day for specific reasons, and it's growth. And sometimes pain is spiritual growth. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that one, but it is. And if we didn't go through it, then we wouldn't turn into bigger, stronger, better people that we are today. There would be no reason to live, learn, or keep doing what we're doing if we didn't have that growth process. So I feel like, at that point, and that's the way that I somewhat am myself. I think to myself, okay, well, I didn't do anything. Yeah, it hurts like hell, but, what can you do about it? Nothing.
And another thing to keep in mind is love changes over time, too.
Yes, it does. And that's where I kind of really enjoy the Jewish faith and their ceremonies for marriage, because I like what it says, when the rabbi says, it's not as long as you both shall live, it's as long as you both shall love.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there are instances where people will fall out of love. And I know that to some that doesn't seem possible. But, there are varying degrees of love. It's still the same love, whether it's the love of your infant, your child, or your partner. They're just a little bit different, in how we treat them. Like the baby would be tender love. The couple would be romantic love. the other people in life would be your friendship, love, or family, or whatever the case may be. But love is still pretty much universal. It's all the same. Just takes on different facets of what it is and what type of situation. But, we have to come to grips with sometimes things that are hard. And I feel like, if you're going to sit there and persecute the person on why, then I feel like you have a problem too.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to relentlessly ask, I do have one person in particular that I deal with when she feels like crap, she calls, and she'll say, well, he's never going to meet anybody else like me.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure this person will meet somebody like her, but he'll probably do the same thing to that person that he did to her as well. So for the most part, I've got somebody that's got, a case of, and this is true for anybody else out there too, that if you're going to sit there and ask why, and you're going to come off with, well, they're never going to find anybody else like me, there are some other issues of insecurity, low confidence, low self-esteem, that if you have to ask why, then why are you so desperate to hang on? If you are desperate to cling to that person because you think that they are your only source of happiness, think again. Because the ultimate source of happiness is self-love, loving yourself.
It's within again.
Yes, the very spiritual love for yourself and self-compassion. And when you love yourself and you feel confident and radiant and secure within your own being, that's when you will attract the perfect person for you.
Yes. All right, continuing on. What about that one last meeting, in air quotes? Well, it just extends the pain. If there is still communication after a breakup, it's tempting to ask for one last face-to-face to help you understand and gain the closure you seek. But for all of the reasons above, this will not help. A meetup is often an excuse to get in touch because the ending feels too painfully final. Sometimes there's a veiled hope that by seeing them for one last talk, they may rethink or have doubts about leaving. Nobody is ever wrong for seeking closure this way, but before deciding to meet, check whether you are really hoping for reconciliation. Consider how your pain might be prolonged if you don't get it. And I'm going to pause here for a moment. One of the things that I personally recommend when breaking up with somebody is to distance yourself from that person until you have gone through the grieving process. And then not until you have gone through the grieving process do you then consider whether or not it would still be okay, to reestablish a friendship with them. But I would say while you're grieving the breakup, you need to turn within yourself, because as we keep going back, this is an inside job. If you go back to the person, even if just as friends, you may end up prolonging your grief and your pain.
Exactly. And a lot of people actually end up getting intimate again in that last moment. And it's pretty much like, because there is maybe still the physical and chemical attraction there. And that leads to, well, if we're breaking up, then why did you, get intimate with me? Well, you put it out there, so why not? I'll take it. And for the most part, the other bad thing is if you do still remain friends with somebody, you can also be giving them some false hope too.
Yeah.
Because they still might think that maybe by being in the friendship still and keeping in contact, that there still could be some chance that things will rise up and happen again, and it's just a matter of time, and then you're just giving yourself some false hope.
Number 3, your closure does not come from their truth. Keyword, their truth. You cannot rely on the words of the person who broke your heart for your own closure. You know what? I'm going to say this again. You cannot rely on the words of the person who broke your heart for your own closure. That's important.
Exactly.
Not
very, very true.
Not because they are being deliberately dishonest, but because there is never just one truth at the time of the breakup. The answers you receive from your ex may bring you a little bit of understanding or peace at first, but if you depend on them for your own closure and the reality shifts, it can set you back and bring even more pain. I allowed myself to feel deeply reassured by my ex's assertion that he left because he needed to be by himself. So, when he told me 2 months later that he was dating again, it left me utterly devastated because I had allowed my peace of mind to come from his words and not my own healing. I had believed it is not you, it's me, and then felt the gut punch that it actually was me. However, as I started to move through the healing process, my growth allowed me to shift my perspective on the meaning I gave to this revelation. I learned to reframe the deep feelings of rejection to create my own, more empowering understanding of why we ended. You cannot cling to reassurance from someone else's truth or explanations because they will not hold lasting meaning for you. Your closure will only have a strong foundation if it comes from your own truth. Those are some wise words there.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's very true because, a lot of situations happen as to where people break up. Usually it's the guys, sorry guys, usually it's the guys, I gotta blame them, that end up finding somebody else not too long after they've broken up with someone and using that exact thing of, oh, it's not you, it's me. Okay? Well, and then, lo and behold, you find out that they're all over social media with some new chick, and you're going, well, I look better than her, or, wow, she's prettier than me, or, it's got to be me because he wouldn't have gone out and found somebody else right away. Well, sometimes when you go out and find somebody else right away, that's just because you still have a problem. You're not addressing it, and you're just going from one relationship to the next, having a really bad cycle, bad pattern of not fixing yourself before you get into something. And that you think that it's going to change because maybe somebody else is going to be different, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Nobody's different. You have to change yourself and make yourself different.
Because you're the only one that you have control over. You don't have control over other people or who they are.
Exactly. You have to accept each other for who you are, lock, stock, and barrel.
Number 4, moving on should not be conditional. You disempower yourself when you believe that you can only get closure via your ex-partner. In doing so, you are effectively allowing them to say whether it's okay to move on. If you require an apology, change behavior, an explanation, empathy, forgiveness, or anything else from them before you can move forward, what happens if those things are never done? Are you okay with potentially spending years waiting for someone else to fix your pain? Whatever your ex-partner tells or withholds from you, however they acted back then, whatever their current situation or future behavior, is far less relevant than your response to any of these things. Your ability to gain closure is unconditionally within your control, and it becomes far easier when you stop focusing on your ex.
Very true, very true.
Yes. Number 5, closure is not passive. What you do counts. We have a common understanding that time heals a broken heart. While it's true that the intensity of grief emotions can lessen over time, what really makes a difference to your speed of moving on is how willing you are to do the inner work to change and grow. As you gain closure, you'll notice you are no longer so emotionally triggered by the same external situations. However, this doesn't happen because anything out there is different. It's because you are different. When you learn to heal an internal world, shift your perspective, and change your responses to events, you gain peace from the inside. This is not dictated by time. It is up to you how soon you want to make these changes. And I'm going to be honest with you. The author says, it is up to you how soon you want to make these changes. And it really is. It's, take your time. Take all the time you need when it comes to the grieving process. But also don't sit in it. Don't just sit in it and do nothing.
Exactly. You got to move and groove. You got to have that inspired action. You got to have some time in between time, for any relationship breakup. So, definitely take that healing process. It may be tempting to want to jump into something because, we all get quote unquote lonely. We all get, a little feeling like, well, if I had somebody, I'd feel better. No, it's not going to make you feel any better. Go talk to your friends, do that. Go out, buy yourself a new outfit, have some chocolate, whatever the case may be. But definitely don't sit. Get active, go do some activities, and take on a sport, hobby, whatever. But, keep your mind busy. I remember long while back after my first breakup, it was crappy, but it wasn't like massively devastating. I waited for 2 years before I even attempted, and then I kind of got mixed up with somebody that I thought was going to be okay and that they weren't, and that was extremely devastating. And I threw myself into work. Every day I would sit there and just cry for 2 hours or so before I went into work. I would work all day, feel better, and, do stuff at night, just get, typical things around the house done. And, I'd say after about maybe 4 months. It took me 4 months, to snap back into the reality of the situation, because that's when I started realizing I want somebody to love me, to treasure me, and to cherish me. Yeah, that may sound girly, but, I think that's what everybody deserves, to not settle for anything less than the best person for yourself. And when we say partner, significant other, that it's somebody that is complementary to you, that you can play back and forth on strengths and weaknesses, and that you're able to have good communication skills, because that's the downfall generally of a lot of situations that could be avoided. If people weren't so, and this is the thing, I feel like a lot of people are afraid to talk to each other and be honest with each other about where they're at, because they're afraid that the other person is going to be mad. Well, don't you think they're going to be more mad when they find out that you're either screwing around behind their back, or that you're withholding, information that could make the situation better?
Yeah.
That's really important, and that's a lot of the cases of what I see, is that, vice versa, men, women will go cheat on each other because the other one's not doing, whatever they want the other one to do, or there's no communication, or, they're just there maybe with the person for maybe financial gain or whatever the case may be. But, if you don't talk about things, then how can you make it better or resolve it if you don't talk? I mean, that's what leads to the breakup, and then you're sitting there and you want closure. Well, if you didn't open up your mouth, then shame on you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So if you want to read the rest of the article, you could go to tinybuddha.com. She also mentions that closure is not a one-time event. So this was by Marissa Walter on tinybuddha.com. Final check of the weather before we head off for today. It is currently 59 degrees with light rain in the area. The rain is going to continue until 3 p.m. according to tomorrow.io, with some heavier rain moving in at 2 p.m. There's also a slight chance of rain here and there for the rest of the day as well. The temperature is going to remain around the low 60s for most of the day. High around 62 degrees. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Wright Morning Show. We're here every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. And I apologize that we were not here on Friday. I had a little incident Thursday evening, bicycle incident, and I was too sore. Just didn't want to risk bicycling over here to the station with how sore I was. So we canceled for that day. But we will be back tomorrow for Trivia Tuesday. Again, be sure to tune in to Testa and Neil Keep It Real every weekday, 1 to 3 p.m. Coming up just an hour on WWSU as well. Thank you, Harmony, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me as always. I wish everyone a peaceful, wonderful week and a namaste day.
Yes, and thank you for making us a part of your morning. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Hey, this is Mike Fury of Dangerous Muse, and you're listening to 106.9 Dayton's Wright.